Hey everybody, the Viking coming at you from the garage again. For the new people, you might be wondering, why is this guy filming in his garage? Well, because a lot of successful businesses started in somebody's garage. So here we are. Well, this is our second video in the whole series we're going to be doing on people skills, interpersonal skills, and how to get along with others, etc. We did a previous video on the 4 temperaments. So if you haven't watched that video yet, I recommend you go back to that because it's important to understand the 4 temperaments before we get into some of this stuff. So some of you might be wondering, what are people skills? Why do some people seem to get along with others, others don't, etc., etc.? Well, it's not something you're born with. Certainly there are some people that have temperaments that are probably more amiable. They tend to look like they get along with other people, but really inside maybe they're burning up against, they're mad at somebody or whatever. So we're going to go through some of that through this series here. Some folks call it charm, class, charisma, mojo, or I like to just call it people skills or interpersonal skills, some people call it. So this is People Skills 101 Part 2. By the end of this, here's what I'd like to have us accomplish is we'll be able to assert ourselves into any situation with confidence. Confidence comes from knowing that we're going to do okay in a certain situation. If you're anything like me, I'm not a natural people person. I wasn't the guy at the party, with a lampshade on the head and having a good time. Yeah, that wasn't me. I was the guy in the corner that talked the guy into doing the lampshade thing. But anyhow, we can assert ourselves in any situation. The second thing is get along with others. Not just be around others and function around, but get along with others. Even the ones that maybe you don't really care for, that rub you the wrong way, but you can actually get along with them. And then resolve conflicts, which is a big one. I know some of you are thinking right now, well, I don't want to learn how to resolve conflict. I just stay away from conflict. Well, the only way you can truly stay away from conflict is to really live in a cave. So we all have conflicts. It's just a fact of life, and learning to resolve those is part of people skills. Okay, so Dale Carnegie, many of you have heard of him through many decades, and his descendants, they have changed millions of people's lives for the positive through their people skills courses, etc. And there's been plenty of other people out there that have done a lot of good stuff, but Dale Carnegie's probably, I would say, the grandfather of people skills, okay? And so if you've heard some of this stuff before, it's probably because you've read the book, maybe How to Win Friends and Influence People, or How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, both those by Dale Carnegie. There's been others, but those are the most popular ones that I know of. Several years ago now, Harvard and Stanford actually did a joint study, and they were basically looking, I can't remember the exact title they had, but they were basically looking at why do some people, quote unquote, make it in business or in the workplace and others don't. And you know what they found was fully 85% was people skills. Charm, class, charisma, mojo, whatever you want to call it. People skills. 85% of the people that are excelling, climbing the corporate ladder, making it in business, whatever you want to call it, only 15% was technical skills. So that's something to keep in mind as we move forward here. This stuff is important. Brian Tracy is another icon in the quote-unquote people skills industry, and he's given more than 5,000 talks, 77 countries to over 5 million people. And I'm going to do this a little bit out of order, but basically some of the things that he talks about and he teaches is he calls them the 4 A's. I got them a little bit out of order. I think this is probably a more appropriate order for what we're talking about today. Accept, approve, appreciate, and attention. These are all very important things. These are just basics. Now we're going to get into first impressions, all that, how to shake it, all that stuff we're going to get into as we go along. But there's a saying by, I think it was John Maxwell, who said, he actually wrote a book. It says, everybody communicates, but few connect. And so this is the basis of connecting with people and really learning what somebody's about and learning to listen to them, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so accept, that's the first one. Now, this might not come naturally to some people. It didn't to me. My natural bent, because I'm a choleric, from the first video, a choleric or a high D, right? My natural bent is to want to instruct people and teach people and give them my opinion and just set them straight. I thought God put me on this earth to straighten everybody out. Well, that's not really true. Accept people for where they are, who they are, where they're at. And the best way to do that is smile. When you meet somebody, smile. And we're going to talk about that in a later series, but that's the most disarming thing and the most warming thing to make people feel accepted. Don't look people up and down. I see people do it all the time. I do it. I have this issue with teeth. I don't know why. I like to look at people's teeth, especially if they have nice teeth. I kind of check them out. Hey, all those teeth, man, that's some cool, nice teeth you got there. I like to look at people's teeth. I don't know why. I also look at men's hair, not so much women's hair, but men's hair, because I think, man, I'd like to have me some hair like that. It looks pretty good. And I'll sit there and I'll stare at people's hair. And so when I do that, people can feel like I'm not accepting them or somehow I'm judging them. I'm looking them up. So just be careful. Be conscious of this stuff, and it'll go a long way, okay? So the next one is approve. We all need approval. It's inside of everybody. And I'll just tell you this, a good way to see if somebody needs approval, if they're a jerk. If somebody is a jerk, probably they don't have anyone pouring into their lives, telling, you know, you're awesome, you did a good job today, yada, yada, yada. Approval needs to be practiced all the time. If you want it to be most effective, it's got to be real. Approval is not just saying words to say them so you can get something out of somebody, to manipulate somebody, to get them to do what you want to do. You know, the title of Carnegie's book, many people have taken it the wrong way. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Influencing people isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I've seen people use approval to manipulate people, and that's where we get into trouble. So you got to be careful of that. Really approve people. As long as it doesn't violate some kind of principle that you hold true, because you always want to stick to your principles. We talked about that in the last video. Don't change your DNA, or a couple videos ago, I guess. If somebody's doing something you absolutely can't approve of, then just be quiet. Just move on. Don't say anything. It's not the time to give somebody a big talk from our moral high horse and tell them what we think of their lifestyle or whatever. We need to approve people. If we want to ever have a chance to influence somebody for the better, we have to approve of them, at least to some degree, as much as we possibly can. Next one, appreciate. Find something that you appreciate about people. Good way to do this. Again, you have to be real. Just like approval, you have to appreciate. Practice it at home. Honey, thanks for making that dinner. Honey, thanks for, Amy and I are in business together. Honey, you did a great talk the other night. You did a great job. We were mentoring with that couple. You did a great job at that business meeting. I sincerely appreciate my wife, and I need to tell her, I appreciate my kids. Hey, good job, guys, cleaning up the house. My kids did a great job. We ran a garage sale this weekend, and they did a great job. They worked their butts off. We hauled stuff over here and all this heavy stuff, and they did a great job. So I praised them for it at the end. You got to be real and make it consistent so it comes naturally to you. And it didn't come naturally to me, and it still doesn't come really naturally to me. I still have to work at it a little bit, but I tend to look for ways to find people to doing something. I heard it this way. Sneak up and catch people doing something right, okay? Last one is give people attention. Look at them. Don't be like this on your phone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just let me finish it up. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Yeah. Put the dang phone away and look people in the eyes. Look in the eyes. Do you remember that story, The Karate Kid? That movie, The Karate Kid, was on years ago. And Mr. Miyagi, he was teaching Daniel-san, and Daniel-san would be looking around. He'd go, Daniel-san, look eyes. You remember old Mr. Miyagi, short karate teacher guy? Tough dude. But one of the things he demanded of Daniel-san was that he looked him in the eye. Give him attention. And so I think that has everything to do with how much you learn and how this person will feel appreciated, approved, and accepted. How much attention do you give somebody? So I get it. You can't always drop everything you're doing and give everybody attention because they're going to tell you this 4-hour story about how their cat got caught in the tree and the fire department came over. Blah, 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 blah. I understand. But there's a fine line between wasting all your time and just listening to all these people's stories and yada, 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 and just giving of myself and understanding that this person that's trying to talk to me, they need a friend. They just need somebody to listen to for a few minutes, and hopefully they'll pick up on the hint that, my house is on fire. Sorry, I can't listen to talk about the cat right now. I gotta go put my house out, whatever. Some people won't, but hey, it's just part of learning. So these are the first little pieces of starting to put together this whole package that we'll call interpersonal skills or people skills. It's amazing to me how far I made it in life with very little people skills at all. And I see other people that have made it even farther than what I did without it, and they can't figure out, like, what's going on? What's wrong with all these people? And they don't study this stuff. They haven't watched a YouTube video on people skills in forever. They haven't read a book in forever. They read How to Win Friends and Influence People, a decade ago, and they think, oh yeah, I got all that stuff. But yet they don't have any friends. Here's my question. If I think I have such good people skills, who are my true friends? Not my drinking buddies, not my business partners, not my true friends. People that, if I had 4 flat tires, my battery was on my cell phone was at 2%, I got 4 flat tires, I'm 100 miles out in the middle of the country, who can I call? Who's going to come get me? Those are my true friends. And those true friends come from people skills, charm, class, charisma, mojo, whatever you want to call it. Okay? So if you like this video, please subscribe, like it, share it, etc., etc. We'll see you on the next one. It's going to be on making a good first impression, and then we're going to get into some of this really deep people skill stuff and about building teams and holding it together and what all that takes. It's been the Viking, over and out. See you in the next one.